5 billion people. That is not a typo. That is the estimated global audience for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. 5 billion. Human beings watching the same tournament on the same screens across 200 countries at the exact same time. Now here's a question nobody's really asking. Who gets to be the voice of that moment? Because somebody has to soundtrack the biggest sporting event in human history. Somebody has to write the song that plays when the trophy is lifted. The song that 80,000 fans will be humming in the tunnels. The song that defines the summer of 2026 in every country on Earth. And FIFA chose her. But here's what the headlines aren't telling you. The story behind why she got this, how this song was built, and what's actually hidden inside it. That story is genuinely one of the most fascinating things happening in pop culture right now. Stay with me, because we are about to go deep. To understand why Lisa is the perfect choice for 2026, you have to understand what a World Cup anthem actually does. It's not just a song, it's a time capsule. Think about Ricky Martin in 1998. That performance at the opening ceremony in France, the Latin heat, the drumline, it didn't just hype up a football match. It made the entire world feel like it was at the same party. And then came Waka Waka in 2010. That song didn't just fit the moment, it became the moment. 16 years later, and it still plays at every sports event, every school sports day, every barbecue. Shakira didn't write a World Cup song. She wrote a forever song. That is the standard Lisa has been handed. But here's where it gets interesting. After 2010, the anthems started feeling safer, more polished, less alive. They were fine. They were perfectly fine. But perfectly fine doesn't make anyone cry when their country wins the World Cup. So for 2026, the biggest World Cup ever staged, FIFA made a very different kind of decision. Instead of going to the usual pop machinery, they went to the most streamed, the most followed, the most globally cross-cultural music phenomenon of the last decade, K-pop. And not just K-pop broadly. They went specifically to a woman from Buriram, Thailand, who moved to South Korea as a teenager, became the face of a generation, and is now single-handedly changing what it means to be a global pop star. That choice was not accidental. And once I explain the full picture, you'll understand why it was arguably the most calculated decision FIFA has ever made in music. Okay, let's actually get into the song. Because Goals is not what it looks like on the surface. Most World Cup anthems are built around one idea: make it big, make it universal, make it inoffensive. The result is usually something that sounds like it was written by a brand strategy team, because it usually was. Goals is doing something fundamentally different. This song is built like 3 songs in one body. Layer 1 is the K-pop DNA, the precision of the arrangement. The way the verses are structured with that sharp, rhythmic flow that Lisa has been mastering since she was a trainee at YG Entertainment. K-pop production at the top level is some of the most technically intricate pop architecture in the world. Every element is intentional, nothing is wasted. That structure gives the song its spine, its confidence. The sense that every single beat is exactly where it's supposed to be. Layer 2 is where it gets personal. And this one is easy to miss if you're not listening for it. The rhythmic foundation of this song carries echoes of Thai musical tradition. Buriram, the region where Lisa grew up, has a cultural pulse, a rhythmic language. And when you know to listen for it, you can feel it in the groove of this track. This isn't a gimmick. This is an artist who grew up between worlds, between Southeast Asia and East Asia, between tradition and modernity, and found a way to carry all of it into one 3-minute pop song. Layer 3 is the most underrated thing about this track. And honestly, it's the one that proves this wasn't made by accident. The chorus of Goals is engineered to be chanted, not sung. Chanted. Try this. Close your eyes and imagine 80,000 people who don't all share a language. They can't sing a complicated lyric together, but a 4-syllable hook with a strong rhythm. That crosses every language barrier on Earth. The greatest sports anthems have always known this. Waka Waka was built on it. 7 Nation Army by the White Stripes wasn't even written as a sports song, and it became the chant at every football match in Europe for 20 years. Goals is architecturally designed to do the same thing. That's not something that happens by accident. That is a production team who understood their assignment. Okay, here is where we get into the stuff that most coverage is completely missing. Because the song is only half the story. The real secret is why this moment exists at all, and what it's actually designed to accomplish. Think about the 2 biggest audience ecosystems on the planet right now. Football fandom, 5 billion people, every demographic, every country, every language. And K-pop fandom, specifically the Blink fandom, arguably the most digitally powerful fan network ever assembled. Streaming armies, social media machines, a community that can trend something in 40 countries before you finished your morning coffee. These two audiences have historically occupied completely separate spaces. Football fans and K-pop fans don't usually share a playlist. FIFA just forced them into the same room. And here's the thing, when you get Blinks to care about a World Cup song, you get people who had zero interest in football suddenly streaming content, watching games, engaging with FIFA branding. And when you get football fans engaged with a Lalisa track, you get a whole new demographic opening a Spotify account and looking up who she is. But it goes even deeper than marketing strategy. And this is the part that actually gives me chills. The 2026 World Cup is being hosted in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, the first time North America has hosted since 1994. And the K-pop market in North America has exploded over the last 5 years. Lisa, specifically as a solo artist, has been deliberately building her American fan base through brand deals, performances, and features. She's not unknown in the US, she's dominant in the US. So FIFA isn't just using Lisa to reach K-pop fans. They're using her to embed the World Cup into American pop culture in a way that it has never been embedded before. Soccer, football, has always struggled to compete with American sports. But put it behind the voice of the biggest K-pop solo artist alive, suddenly you're in a completely different conversation. And here's the final layer, the deepest one. Lisa is Thai. Born in Thailand, she is the first Southeast Asian artist to ever soundtrack a FIFA World Cup. Let that sit for a second. Southeast Asia has 680 million people, a rapidly growing middle class, an exploding digital economy, and one of the most emotionally passionate football followings on the planet. Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, these countries love football. And for the first time in the history of this tournament, one of their own is the face of it. That's not just representation. That is FIFA planting a flag in the fastest growing media market on Earth. And Lisa, knowingly or not, just became the most important cultural ambassador in the history of Southeast Asian pop music. There's a version of Lisa's career where BLACKPINK's hiatus becomes a question mark, where the fans wait, the momentum slows, and the world moves on to the next thing. That is not the version we're living in. What Lisa has done as a solo artist, and what Goals represents specifically, is the full completion of her transformation from K-pop idol to genuine global pop icon. And those are not the same thing. A K-pop idol has global fans. A global pop icon shapes global culture. They appear in conversations that have nothing to do with music. They become a reference point, the kind of name that even someone who doesn't follow the industry will recognize. Shakira did it with the 2010 World Cup. Beyoncé does it with every cultural moment she chooses to enter. And now, in 2026, Lisa is doing it with football. This song, regardless of chart positions, regardless of streaming numbers, puts her name permanently in the record books. You cannot unsoundtrack the biggest World Cup in history. That credit belongs to her forever. And for every girl growing up in Southeast Asia who was told that the global stage wasn't built for someone who looked like them, this matters in ways that a press release will never fully capture. So, the secret of Lisa's World Cup soundtrack. It's not one secret, it's layers. It's a Thai girl who carried her culture into a global pop production. It's a K-pop ecosystem being weaponized in the best possible way to conquer the last major audience that hadn't fully embraced it yet. It's Southeast Asia finally getting its moment on the biggest stage in sport. And it's FIFA making arguably the smartest, most strategic music decision they've made in 15 years. That's the story. And I think this is only chapter 1. Now, I want to hear from you. Here's my question for the comments, and I want you to actually think about it. If you could pick any artist alive right now to do the next World Cup anthem, who would it be and why? Seriously, drop your answer below. I read every single one. The best picks might end up in a future video. If you're new here, this is where music, culture, and global events collide. If that's your kind of thing, the subscribe button is right there. No pressure. But you'll want to be here for the next one. I'll see you then.